What volume for 135?
135. What price are you at?
It's like I'm blind. I can't see what's going on. I don't know what the market price is. The way they used to deal with it, if you needed something and you needed it now, it could take you hours, days.
When did the price change?
Is the real price?
What is the real price?
Irmi, a quanto è la borsa di Chicago?
What is the real price?
Price!
The price was hidden, and it took an incredible amount of work to dig it out. Enron Online will change the markets for many, many commodities. It is creating an open, transparent marketplace that replaces the dark, blind system that existed. It is real simple. You turn on your computer, and it's right there. And if you want to do business, you push the button. That's our vision. We're trying to change the world.
Enron Corporation was an American energy, commodities and service company based in Houston, Texas. Enron's predecessor was the Northern Natural Gas Company, which was formed during 1932 in Omaha, Nebraska. It was reorganized during 1979 as the main subsidiary of a holding company, Internorth, which was diversified energy and energy-related products company. During 1985, it bought the smaller and less diversified Houston Natural Gas Company. The company initially named itself H&G Internorth Inc. However, was later renamed to Enron. Kenneth Clay was Chairman and Chief Executive Officer. Rebecca Mark Jusbaske was CEO of Enron. Love Pai was CEO of Enron Energy Services. Jeffrey Skilling was President, Chief Operating Officer and CEO at February to August 2001. Andrew Fastio was Chief Financial Officer. Richard Cauze was Chief Accounting Officer. Enron employed approximately 20,000 staff. It was one of the world's major electricity, natural gas, communications and pulp and paper companies. Their revenues of nearly $101 billion and named Enron America's most innovative company for 6 consecutive years by Fortune. It was the 7th largest company and 6th largest energy company.
Enron traded in more than 30 different products. The product traded in Enron Online are power, petrochemical, paper, steel, oil, LNG transportation, shipping and streaming media. It was also an extensive futures of other trading products like sugar, coffee, grains, hogs and other meat futures. Enron opened Enron Online, an electronic trading platform for energy commodities. It was the first web-based system transaction that allowed buyers and sellers to buy and sell trade commodity products globally. It allows users to do business only with Enron. The main commodity offered on Enron Online were natural gas and electricity. Enron's International was Enron's wholesale asset development and asset management business. Its primary emphasis was developing and building natural gas power plant outside North America. Enron finalized in India a 20-year power purchase contract with Maharashtra State Electricity Board. When India's Congress party was no longer in power, the Indian government was refused to pay for the plant and stopped construction.
What happened to Enron that led from Wall Street darling to losing $74 billion over 4 years and end up complete bankruptcy? In 1990, the COO of Enron, Henry, hired Andrew Fastow, who was well acquainted in burgeoning deregulated energy market, which he wanted to exploit. In 1993, Fastow began establishing numerous limited liability entities, which is a common practice among energy sectors. It allows the Enron to move some of their liabilities off its books to maintain increasing stock prices. In 1996, the time of Enron's proposal to acquire Portland General Electric Corporations. In 1998, Enron began its operations on water industry. They created Azurix Corporations. They had high hopes for that organization, but it was failed to be successful in 1999. In 2000, Enron was praised by many peoples, including their laborers and workforce. As an overall great company, they are mainly praised for its long-term pension for their workers and their highly effective leadership skills. Everything was good until the exposure of its corporate fraud.
Everything seems to be perfect till 2000, but the crack began to reveal in 2001. Enron was filed as bankruptcy for its unusual accounting practice throughout the 1990s, and its auditor, Arthur Andersen, was filed for fraud. Enron was filed for 11th largest bankruptcy in history. Enron's share price was $90 in 2000. By then, it started to reduce. At that time, Kenneth was still manipulating the investors to invest more in their shares. Kenneth Lay, the chairman of Enron, said that he uses strategies to purposely low down the share value and rebound it in the future period. During that time, the press and media asked Jeffrey Skilling, the COO of Enron, to reveal their unusual balance sheet, but they refused to do so. Finally, in 2001, Enron was filed under bankruptcy. After all this fraudulent act, the auditor, Arthur Andersen, was forced to stop auditing for all public companies by the Supreme Court. Enron used variety of deceptive and fraudulent accounting practices and tactics to cover its fraud in reporting Enron's financial statement. Special purpose entities were created to mask significant liabilities from Enron's financial statement. This entity seems to look more profit than it was. This practice helped them to increase the stock price to the new level. The main reason for this accounting malpractice is Mr. Andrew Fastow, the Chief Financial Officer of Enron. He personally directed the team which created the off-book accounts. He purposely used his friends, family members with hundreds of dollars at the expense of the corporation for which he was working and its shareholders. This is the team set up to hide the fraud behind the financial statement of Enron. Finally, Morgan Stanley made steps to file suit against Enron for not revealing their balance sheet to the investors. Investors seems to be the major victim for this fraudulent. More than 4,500 employees had lost their career and also they have been invested in their own company. At the end, they lost their share amount as their career by Enron. The investors had been completely fooled out by Enron. This is how Enron's unethical organizational culture made them to kick into miserable tail.
These were the masterminds behind Enron's unethical behavior that led to Enron's success and downfall. The CEO of the company, Kenneth Lay, the COO of the company, Jeffrey Skilling, and the Chief Finance Executive of the company, Andrew Fastow, and Mr. Skillett, the former Vice Chairman of the Enron. These were the top dogs who played a major role in Enron's scandal. In January 2004, Fastow agreed to a plea bargain and got 10 years sentence. He pleaded guilty of conspiracy, wire fraud and security fraud. He also agreed to cooperate with federal prosecutors. In February, the COO of the Enron entered the plea of not guilty against 40 charges, and later the CEO Lay, charged with fraud and misleading statements, he also pled not guilty. In 2006, government set a trial. Lay and Skilling were testified more than a week in their own defense. After 4 months, it was found that Lay and Skilling were guilty. Skilling was found guilty on counts of conspiracy, fraud, false statements, insider trading, and sentenced to imprisonments for 20 years, and after it was reduced by 10 years. Lay was found guilty on all 6 counts of conspiracy, fraud in his separate bench trial. He was never sentenced. After 6 weeks after his verdict, he passed out from heart attack. The former vice chairman of Enron was found dead in the parking lot inside his car. Later, his suicide note was found by his wife in his home. After Enron scandal, Enron's name has been removed from museums and civic organizations all over the world. But still, Enron lives through the companies which was built on Enron's assets.
We start the brainstorming session.
According to this case, I think lack of transparency is a major issue here. It's not like they can be transparent or anything, because behind the scene they were doing really some unethical things. For example, let me point it out for you. One thing, in 1999, the Deregulation Act has been passed. After that, they purposefully made blackouts all over the California city to make profit. How they make profit? The thing is, they are an electricity company, right? Electricity supply company. After doing so, the next day the stock price went high drastically. They made much profits from that single incident. Even though it's unethical thing, they made profits from it. Even though it's a centralized company, I really strongly believe that the employees working there and the customers have the right to know what happens in the top management. I still didn't get it. Why the investors invest blindly in a company which hadn't even submitted their balance sheet for more than 10 years?
Yes, I do agree with Murugan's point. Is that how can an investor cannot even know how to invest in a company? Because at that time of period in 1990s, that stock market has been that much not familiar to such kind of investors. I think so. Now we are the future investors, so we could know how the market and the price value. We know everything. At the time, it's new into the market, right? So this could be like investor have been not that much educated enough about the stock exchange market. I think so. In my perception, I say this.
Yes, I agree with Murugan's point because being an investor, they need to be aware of, right? So it is a duty to raise question when a company did not realize their balance sheet. We should not focus only on profit of a company. Thereby, we should focus only on a balance sheet.
Yes,
Yeah, you are
absolutely
right,
agree
Miss
with
Sandhya, because we shouldn't invest because only we need profit. We should see the company is reliable or not. Will it stand for a long term? Is it trustworthy? These are all the important factors we should consider before investing in a company.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes, that's perfect. When we think about the top level management, they kept everything secret. They did, the employees or investors couldn't even get any single point that 10-year period. Can you please imagine how it have done the 10 particular period? None of them have know about the fraud, about the thing, only unless otherwise the top level management. They clearly played a well good play, because when you think about the accounts department, Mr. Andrews Fasto, the CFO, clearly played a game with that company to had played a game. What means he had created his own team for this fraud content with his friends, family members. These are the people supporting them to do further on. And he has got that type of revenue from the corporation where he was working to. See how he is like much brilliant enough to practice all these things. So that every company should have their own ethical responsibilities to develop an organization culture. Only then we cannot develop our country's culture, organization cultures only to unethical form. Though we can do follow ethical forms to develop the company's organization structure.
Yeah, you are absolutely right, Ms. Shirani. Because even though it's an unethical thing, they must have been really intelligent to pull this thing off.
Yes.
Yes.
As an employee's point of view, more than 20,000 employees' lives were ruined by Enron. Though they had provided all allowances and benefits to employees, they did not maintain it till the end. Enron's collapse affected many people's life in smaller ways.
Yes, this
Yes.
is a perfect point. Why it is because like employees have totally ruined their life, because they are standoff living and everything have got in town, and they finally lost their share amount as well as the career, which is more important for every person. They have been completely fooled out by Enron. Like such a case, but we have to be much more have developed knowledge regarding this. When it's come to finance department, we should gather more knowledge regarding this. This is a great example for the such kind of scandal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.